Brenda gets a new toy because, kitty. No, we'll see if she likes it. Okay. Brenda gets a new toy because she shredded one of her other toys last night. So, admittedly, it was a cheap toy that we bought specifically so that way at some point, if she wanted to, she could shred it. And it took her several months to get to shredding it, so we got our money's worth out of it. So, now she has a stuffed bear. There. You can see her better. See? You got a bear. Get a bear. Brenda Boo. She also has her bumblebee toy still. This is her other toy that she has not quite shredded yet. There you go. Okay. Last Black Clover video that I'll be doing for the Family Day stuff because we ran out of family members to talk about. So this will be Grandparents' Day, which was kind of serendipitous because the last time that I did one of these videos, it was for Sisters' Day. And of course, two of the main group, one of the main groups that you talk about when you talk about these are the Silva family. And of course, I talked about Noelle and Nebra. So, and then very recently in the manga, we finally got the chapter where, like, all four siblings band together and put aside, where Nebra and Solid finally just freaking get over themselves and are like, I want to actually be a sibling to my actual little sister. So, that happened. And then also, I had made mention of, Kahano and Kyoto in that video because, of course, Kahano is Kyoto's sister, so I made mention of them. And then they popped up. So, I don't know. I guess maybe I'll mention some of these ones and then maybe they'll pop up. Now, to be fair, we don't have that many... You are really liking that bear. I'm glad. To be fair, there's not that many grandparents that have been mentioned, and both of them I have subsequently talked about, or two of the main ones I've already subsequently talked about already. So first we will start with Nelenia Agrippa, who is the grandfather of Gordon and Roxana. Gordon Agrippa is, of course, one of the members of the Black Bulls. And, of course, him and, he does poison magic and stuff like that. Supposedly his sister probably does something similar, same thing like their father does. But Nelenia, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. And I don't remember if it's ever pronounced in the anime, so I don't remember. But she is, of course, Gordon's grandmother through their father. We only really get to see her when Gordon goes home to, when he takes Asta and such there to introduce them to his family and get help from his father. We subsequently have seen her in, like, the background when Gordon has gone back, when we see him, like, training and studying and everything like that with his family. We also know that she's the one that makes all of the really weird food that everyone but Asta is creeped out by whenever they show up at the house, which is just funny. So there's that. I don't really expect to see her show up in the show again or in the manga again beyond, like, maybe something in the background with Gordon. We'll have to wait and see. But, we don't know that much information about her. As I said, this is probably going to be a rather short video. And then we have Gifso. And I already did a whole video where I talked about Gifso when I talked about the Seabed Temple and everything like that for, like, their rulers and everything like that and how he's, like, the chief priest. But he is, of course, the grandfather of Kahano and Kyoto. We see that he is very proud of his grandchildren. We see him be very supportive of them for their dreams of singing and dancing respectively, and all of that. So that's very nice. She dropped the bear on the floor. Hold on. You dropped your bear. Here, you can have him back now. I can chew him more. Pet me. Okay, I petted the baby. But we don't, he's very supportive of his grandchildren, which is very good. He's also very protective of them. We know that when, Vigo. When the Eye of the Midnight Sun attacked the Seabed Temple, we know that he is very, intent on trying to save his grandchildren and his son, along with the others, of course, that are there, that are the priests that are stuck in the temple. But we don't see that much else about him. I mean, we know that he was kind of there when Noel showed up to get the Leviathan, and I think it was either his idea or Kahano's idea to go and get Noel, to be like, hey, we have an ancient deity that woke up, and it's water-based. Do you want to see if it'll bond with you? And it did. So there's that. But we really don't know that much else there. As I said, if you want a whole more discussion about him, I did a whole video about him. And then we have, so this is a character that we have never met in the series, and they're most likely dead anyway. So I wanted to bring up, like, Grandfather Vermilion is kind of just what I've referred to him as, because we don't know anything else about him beyond the fact that he would be the grandfather of Marileona, Fergolion, Leopold, Kirsch, and Mimosa. That he would be their grandfather. And of course we know that there's the family connection between the Silvas and the Vermilion family. For that connection there, and how they're kind of all, related in that regard. But the grandfather on the Vermilion side is kind of mentioned by Fergolion. I believe he mentions him in the movie, The Sword of the Wizard King, which, take one way or the other if you think is canon. I think it can apply well enough for canon. But because there's not really anything that happens in the movie that, like, contradicts canon, really, as far as I can tell. But, like, what ends up happening is he makes mention of hearing about Funny Bunny, about, Princina. Funny Bunny makes mention of reading about her in their grandfather's journals. But what ends up happening is he mentions reading about Princia in his grandfather's notes, and about how strong she was. And, of course, Marileona fights against Princia and is the one to defeat her. Or, quote unquote, defeat her before the magic runs out. But, so there's, like, something mentioned there, but there's not really anything else that's ever mentioned about the character. I could say, he might have, we don't know that much about beyond, their parents' lines. I mean, like, we don't know if, the Vermilion siblings, for the three of them, if their parents are both still alive, or Kirsch and Mimosa, we don't know about them. We know that Asier is dead, but we don't know about, the Silva siblings' father, if he's still alive. We don't know. Nozel is the current head of the families, but, their line came through their mother, so I don't know. He's never mentioned. A lot of the parents are never mentioned in this. Are never mentioned in this series. Which is fine. The story is not about them in most cases. Same thing with the grandparents here. It's like grandparents aren't really mentioned all that much in this series. Same thing with, like, My Hero Academia. There's not really a lot of, parents or grandparents mentioned all that often throughout the course of the series. We get certain ones that get talked about, but, these were the two most prominent grandparents that get shown in this series for Black Clover. And then even then, it's like, I scrounged up Grandpa Vermilion, and I'm going to scrounge up another one in a second, because, we know that, because of, for the Granburial line, he would have, his either grandmother or grandfather, king, queen, whatever, on, his father's side and everything like that. But it's like, beyond that, it's just like, we don't know. None of the other ones ever get talked about. None of the other grandparents get talked about. Either the kids are orphans, or they don't know, or whatever. I could say that, like, the nun, the sister that takes care of Marie and stuff like that I kind of helped train, for Golion and Marileona, that, like, she is kind of like a grandmother. But beyond that, there's really not any other ones, that apply to this. Simply because of the fact of they're not talked about. I did want to mention there was one other one I think I did want to mention. So, first of all, the name I couldn't remember for the nun because I always have a hard time remembering her name, is Teresa. She's Sister Teresa. And then the other one that I wanted to mention that is, I guess, technically something is, so there's Augusta Kira Clover, the 13th or whatever is his name, the guy that's the king who I've already done a video about. But, like, he has the great niece who is Francine, who's the girl that, you know, that, you know, Fenrir is in love with, you know, that he's trying to woo, and prove that he can be, you know, not a jerk. Fenrir is trying to prove, but again, we don't know exactly. He's, so the king is supposed to be Francine, not Francine, I'm sorry. Vanessa's, great uncle. But it's like, okay, that doesn't make, how much freaking older were your sisters than you, and why are they not on the throne? Because you are an incompetent king. But there's not really any other ones. It's like, I can look through the list here and it's just like, we don't know any other grandparents or, you know, in this series. None of the other ones ever pop up. None of them are talked about or mentioned or anything like that. So we don't know anything else besides that. Anything else besides whatever ones get mentioned in the series. Which is, of course, generally what I tend to work with. Occasionally, I have pulled from non-canon stuff when it came to some of the One Piece stuff and the Bleach stuff. But for the majority of stuff, I stuck with what was canon. And I really only went with the non-canon stuff if they were something where it's just like, I just wanted to talk about this relationship because it's so cute. But yeah, that's what I have for this short video. I wasn't expecting it to be very long, which is fine. It's kind of a buffer video anyway, because this is going up the week after my, will go up the week just after Labor Day, which I'm actually recording this on Labor Day. So happy Labor Day, belated. But also, it's kind of acting as a buffer between one of my sections from my Royals and Leaders videos for One Piece before I go into the whole Wano section, which is going to be, like, all the way into next year and sometime into, like, mid-March at the latest, I think. At the earliest, I think, depending on, you know, if I have to split up any other videos or anything like that for topics. Because they're going to take a while, because there's so many rulers and leaders and such in Wano that I want to talk about for One Piece. And there's going to be so many of them. But that's what I have there. There's not really anything else for this video. It's less than 15 minutes by the time I cut out like 2 or 3 things. So I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're watching this after Labor Day, which is the only time you can watch it, I hope you had a good Labor Day. And remember to call or talk to your grandparents or whatever and remind them that you love them and everything like that. So, or if you've lost them, think about them and remember all of the memories that you have with them, all of the good times that you have with them. Bye.